Disclosure: this video is not sponsored, and I am not paid by any company mentioned. Everything I share here is based solely on my own experience with the equipment I own and the independent research I've done. It's been a little over 6 months since we had our Tesla solar roof and 2 Powerwall 3 units installed. The system went live on February 11th, 2025, and I wanted to take this chance to share how things have gone since then. Think of this as a real world case study, how solar and batteries perform in everyday life, what went smoothly, what I've learned, and why I'm now adding heat pumps into the mix. Part 1. Summer performance better than expected. The first thing I have to say is that summer performance blew me away. In fact, grid consumption was virtually non-existent. That's not an exaggeration. Even with the through-the-wall 18,500 BTU air conditioning unit running much of the time, which by the way is a serious power draw, the solar roof managed to handle it. We weren't just breaking even. We were still sending energy back to the grid on top of covering household needs and charging the car. That's right, cooling the house, running everyday appliances, and keeping the Tesla topped off and still exporting power. If you told me that before the install, I would have been skeptical. But watching the app data day after day has proven it's absolutely possible when you've got enough panels and efficient batteries. That's where the design really shines. A 14.35 kilowatt Tesla solar roof paired with 2 Powerwall 3s gives us both the generation capacity and the storage cushion. It's like having your own mini utility. Panels pull in the energy during the day, batteries store the extra, and you get the freedom to decide how you want to use it. When you experience this in real life, you begin to see electricity differently. It's no longer just an invisible stream coming from the utility meter. It's something you can watch being made, stored, and consumed in real time. You start thinking strategically, maybe I'll charge the car at noon when the sun's at peak, or maybe I'll run the laundry in the early afternoon instead of at night. It turns energy into something you actively manage, not just passively buy. Also, I witnessed a grid outage one day while working at home. It was a summer thunderstorm that lasted for nearly an hour, culminating in a power outage. However, I did not notice it until the Tesla Powerwall app sent me a notification that the grid is down. There was not even a flicker as the system transitioned over to full battery mode. The AC continued working along with all the lights and appliances. I was even on a Zoom meeting at the time and did not even know about the outage then. The app showed that I had over 24 hours of battery backup at current draw. In all, the outage lasted 2 hours, and when I got a text from my utility that power was restored, it took my system about 5 minutes to confirm that the grid was once again up. It then transitioned back to its normal mode all by itself. I was impressed on how it handled the situation all on its own. Previous times I would have to go outside and hook up my noisy gas generator and throw a few switches to power a select few circuits. But the Powerwall system shined. There was no noisy generator or anything, just quiet and always ready energy to power the entire home instantly. This is a great peace of mind. Part 2. The Winter Challenge. That's summer, but winter is where things get complicated. In February, during those cold weeks when the system was still brand new, I got my first real taste of how hard electric baseboard heaters hit. And let me tell you, they are absolute energy hogs. Each unit is essentially a toaster strapped to your wall, converting raw electricity into heat with no finesse, no efficiency, no intelligence. I'd watch the Tesla app as the sun went down and the baseboards clicked on. The Powerwalls, which had been happily cruising at full charge all afternoon, would suddenly nosedive, Overnight, the batteries would drain down to zero, and the grid would step in to pick up the slack, and that's just while we slept. Imagine if we were awake, cooking, using lights, running electronics, the draw would be even higher. It was a rude awakening. Solar and batteries can handle a lot, but when you have resistance heating, you're essentially asking them to fight with one hand tied behind their back. The baseboard sucked the stored energy dry like a sponge, and the system has no chance to recover until daylight. That was the moment I knew. If we want true year-round energy independence, we need to rethink heating. Part 3. Enter the heat pump. So I started looking at heat pumps. At first, I'll admit, I was skeptical. Heat pumps sounded almost too good to be true. The idea that you can move heat instead of generating it, and in the process use half or even a quarter of the electricity compared to baseboard heat, it sounded like marketing fluff. But once you dig into the science, it makes sense. A baseboard heater is 100% efficient at best. That means for every kilowatt hour of electricity you burn, you get 1 kilowatt hour of heat. A heat pump, on the other hand, can achieve a coefficient of performance of 2, 3, or even 4. In plain terms, that means 1 unit of electricity can deliver 2, 3, or 4 units of heat. It's like turning every kilowatt into a multiplier. Now add in the fact that modern systems, like Mitsubishi's Hyperheat line, are designed for cold climates, and suddenly you've got something that doesn't just compete with baseboards, it obliterates them in efficiency. The timing was also critical. The federal $2,000 tax credit for heat pump installation is set to expire at the end of this year. Waiting would mean leaving money on the table, so I decided this was the moment to act. Part 4. Running the numbers. I pulled up last winter's electric bills and began calculating. I intentionally set aside solar and Powerwalls for the first pass because I wanted a clean comparison. Baseboard versus heat pump. Raw numbers. The results were staggering. Based on last year's usage, switching to heat pumps would save between 50 and 75% on heating costs. Think about that. Cutting your single biggest winter expense in half or better. That's not a marginal improvement. That's a revolution in how the home uses power. Once I factored solar back into the equation, the picture became even more compelling. With solar covering daytime loads and the Powerwalls buffering nighttime use, heat pumps could keep us largely off the grid even in winter. Not completely, but close, and a massive improvement over what baseboards can ever hope to deliver. Part 5. Choosing a system. With the math settled, the next step was choosing the right hardware. After a lot of research, I landed on Mitsubishi. They've been in the game for decades, and their hyperheat systems have a strong track record in cold regions. Reliability matters. When you're talking about the heart of your home's heating and cooling, you want something that won't leave you stranded. I invited several contractors to bid, and each had their own take on the ideal configuration. Initially, my plan was a single outdoor condenser with 3 indoor heads, 1 unit outside, 3 zones inside. Simple enough, but the contractor I ultimately chose made a different recommendation. 3 separate outdoor units, each paired with its own indoor head. At first I hesitated. More hardware means more upfront cost and more space needed outside. But the logic was sound. With 3 independent systems, you get redundancy. If one goes down, the other 2 keep running. That's a huge advantage, especially in the dead of winter. It also improves efficiency. A smaller single-zone system running at a sweet spot is often more efficient than a larger multi-zone unit that's forced to throttle up and down across varying demands. So the triple unit design wasn't just about backup, it was about dialing in consistent performance across the board. Part 6. Backup layers. Another piece of the puzzle was backup. I've decided to keep the 18,500 BTU through the wall AC unit in place. Even though the new heat pumps will handle summer cooling, having a standalone system as a fallback never hurts. If one day the heat pumps need servicing, the old unit can still step in. Likewise, the baseboard heaters are staying put. They won't be part of daily life anymore, but they'll remain wired and available as an emergency option. Sometimes redundancy is worth more than efficiency, and in this case, I get to have both. Part 7, Big Picture Reflections. So where does all this leave us? We started with Tesla's solar and Powerwalls, which transformed summer from a season of high bills into one of energy freedom. Then we confronted the winter challenge, realized baseboards were unsustainable, and made the leap toward heat pumps. What excites me is not just the financial savings, though saving 50 to 75% on heating is massive, but the holistic system we're building. Solar generates, batteries store, heat pumps conserve, and together they create a balanced ecosystem where each part makes the other stronger. In the bigger picture, this is what energy independence looks like, not just slapping panels on a roof, not just buying batteries, not just installing efficient HVAC. It's the integration of all three, layered with smart planning and redundancy, that makes the system resilient. It's been 6 months since the solar went live, and already the project has evolved. By the time the first snow flies this winter, we'll have heat pumps humming alongside the panels and power walls, and I can't wait to see the difference when the numbers roll in. Thanks for watching, and please remember to use my referral code if you buy a Tesla, and we both get points, and it's a win-win for everybody. Also, please like and subscribe to my channel if you find this video helpful, and leave comments. If you have any questions or want me to demo anything or have any questions about the Tesla. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.